Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 1 versus 1 on death row, and I'm going to be using the 79th Guards Tank Division. I'm up against MrPresident, who's going to be using the 7th Panzer Division. This is game 1 of a best of 3 in the quarterfinals of the playoffs of the WARNO League Season 0. So there is a lot on the line here. I came out of groups 6-0 as the first seed in my group. MrPresident, he came out as second seed. I'm not sure what his record was, but either way, we're going to be playing at least 2 games, maybe 3, depending on how things go, and this is the first. Now, going into this, I'll make sure to leave the map bans in the description, but the division bans were as follows. MrPresident banned the 35th Air Assault, which is something that I've been playing quite a lot, so it makes sense. And then I banned the 3rd US and picked the 79th, and then he picked the 7th Panzer Division. So that's how it worked out. I banned the 3rd, then picked the 79th, so that he didn't really have any great options for dealing with my 79th armor, because I do get the big T80UDs in this division. So that was kind of the plan there, to control the open ground. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the deployment. Got the UAZs rushing ahead with the Razvedka squads to get into position. He also doesn't have very good forward deployment units like the 79th, so I'm perfectly okay using the Razvedka to get midway up the map early on. I'm also bringing in a leader for the center and a leader for Bravo at the start so that I can get the +3 from Alpha. And I got the Conkers moving in to this building just to help cover the open. I've got an OSA early on because I was thinking that I really need to build up my AA. There's 2 ways you can deal with my tanks. One is like getting up close and personal with a lot of T55s or T72s, and the other way is like just bombing them, like suiciding aircraft into them. So I was planning to really shut that down with a lot of AA throughout this game. Also, you can use helicopters, but again, the OSAs deal with them relatively well. I've also got a bunch of these BMPs, as you can see. A couple of them here, the BMP-1s with the Mostrzelki Metis, just putting them in positions to get really nice snipes onto his units. They do come with 6 missiles now, after the latest update, so really nice. And then I've got a couple of the Mostrzelki coming in with the BMP-2s on the far flanks, just to hold things off there. I've also got an Mi-24V at the start. I'm going to be leaving that near my OSA, just in case he wants to shoot that down with an aircraft, or if I want to go and shoot down any of his aircraft, like any Mi-8s early on or anything, I can just move these up in tandem and hopefully take care of it. I did manage to kill one of the BMP-1s early on there, which was really nice. And I've also got this Mi-8 back here. You can see it just going backwards and forwards. These are all of the queued orders. The reason that I was doing this was not only to just obviously scout the far flanks, but make sure that if I missed anything, my Mi-8's flying near my command here. So if anything does manage to go even further around and starts coming across the open here to get to Bravo, I'm going to see it. So that was why I had it going backwards and forwards across the CV here. Just kind of scouting out my backline permanently. I didn't have it too far back because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to see what it was having a look at. Anyway, UAZ here, going to be shifting that back into cover slightly so that it's not in line of sight of the BMP-1P, but it's still able to fire at the Aufklärer. I'm also going to be moving up the T80B here that I have, and that was bought because it pretty much outclasses anything that MrPresident has, but it's still relatively cheap. So if he decides to suicide any aircraft to try and attack the T80B, I'm perfectly okay with that. In the end, he brings in a MiG, gun runs the Mi-24. It only takes 3 damage and then it gets shot down, so bit of an unfortunate loss there for MrPresident. Not really the right aircraft to be doing that, because you'd want one that had infrared, like air-to-air missiles, honestly. Otherwise, you're just never really going to have enough damage from the gun run unless you're using something like an SU-25 or like an A-10, right? So anyway, on the right-hand side, Flampanzer's going to be definitely getting the better of my Mostrzelki there, melting them. BMP-2s, in the meantime, you can see on the far flanks, are sneaking around the back here. So this one's got a queued order that's going to go all the way around the edge of this sort of hill, or mountain, whatever you want to call it, and come round into the back of Echo. That was the plan there. And on the right-hand side, I'm just going to be moving this into the trees here so that I can cut off any reinforcements. Meanwhile, I am hunting down some Aufklärer that are trying to get around my flank. Obviously, we saw the TO-55s on the right-hand side, so I'm going to be bringing in a couple of BMP-2s and a T-62 to help deal with those. The T-62s, they match up nicely at close range against T-55s, and the BMP-2s with the infantry are going to be more than enough to deal with anything extra that is there. But I wasn't really sure how much was on the right-hand side because we haven't really seen anything in the open at the moment other than these BMP-1s. So I was a bit concerned that he was making some sort of strange tactical play around the outside, going for like a swing into Bravo or something like that. But I just need to make sure that I shut down these flanks. So my Mi-8's actually coming back from scouting out the right-hand side just in time to spot the Aufklärer for me. And now I'm going to keep the Mi-8 here to hover whilst the BMP-2 can move in with the Motorstrelke and kill it off. Also, I noticed that the Aufklärer was on an attack move order, so I actually moved the Mi-8 closer to make the Aufklärer stop so the Motorstrelke can catch up there and take them out. Meanwhile, things are a little bit quiet on the front. Like I said, it was a very standard start. I was worried at this point actually that he'd spotted my BMP-2 there, but apparently not. Yeah, the Aufklärer going down, managed to take care of that. Now the Mi-8 going to be swinging back to the other side to help spot any of the units left over here. So the couple of TO-55s that I've got to deal with and whatever else is left. I think the MiG was actually brought in to strafe the Mi-8, but he lost line of sight because the Aufklärer died. Now back here, BMP-2 going to make the actual hero play. T-55 AM2 should deal with the BMP-2 quite nicely, but I believe the first Conker's missile bailed out the T-55, so that pays itself off really well. 40-point BMP-2 there, killing like a, I think like 60-70 point tank, maybe a bit more. I'm not entirely sure how much those AM2s cost, but yeah, really good kill, and it's still in position to harass any more reinforcements. I'm going to be forcing him to slow down on this right hand side, which is really, really nice. That's all I really need to do with that BMP-2. That's what it was there for, just to harass reinforcements and make sure he can't do much else. Also brought in a couple of T-62s here. You can see this one had to fall back. It did get hit by an ATGM, but I have the supply there. Meanwhile, on the right, the Motorstrelke and the T-62 are going to be finding the TO-55. The T-62 does trade a shot, but gets the kill, which is really nice. The Motorstrelke is going to find a rear shot into the TO-55. Meanwhile, BMP-2 is killing SPW-70s up here. I wasn't sure if they had infantry in them or not, but I can say to you guys that they didn't. I believe Mr. President was just trying to use them to potentially overwhelm the BMP-2 at close range, but with the 30mm, the BMP-2 is going to kill them very fast, and that's exactly what happened. The Mi-8's kind of just zooming ahead of the Aufklärer here just to check if there's anything that I've missed. So I'm just kind of hunting down that Aufklärer. I've got the Mi-24V coming over to help out, and I've also moved over an Osa because I know that he's probably going to go for the Mi-8 with the aircraft like he did before. Now this is a much better aircraft for doing this, the MiG-21 AA2, because it does have infrared, and you can see it makes short work of the Mi-8 and pulls away in the right direction so the Mi-24 cannot get the kill. But I've still got the Mi-24V hovering about, so I might be able to use that to clean up the Aufklärer here, because I really do need to just make sure he's not on my backline spotting everything that's coming in. I have now invested in a couple of AA pieces, or artillery pieces, as you can see. A couple of Akatsaya firing away. And those are going to be aiming at the enemy mortars. So Mr. President had brought in a couple of mortars here. We're trying to use them to harass my units, and the Akatsaya were perfect for counter battery, so I just brought them in, and I can also use them for other things in the future. See the BMP-2s here, they are going to catch up to the Aufklärer, and two of them make short work of the Aufklärer, so that's easy peasy. Now I'm going to be heading back up on the right hand side with the Motorstrelke, with the BMP-2s, and that's all sorted. Lovely jubbly. T-62 on the right that got damaged. I'm driving it all the way over to the left to join these supplies. And the purpose of this is also to create a bit of a mass on the left side of Alpha that I can then use to push forward. So I've got double OSA, or triple OSA even, triple T-62. I've got a T-80 BV coming in now, and the T-80 B that I had before. So quite a large amount of tanks here in the open. I'm also making a cheeky push up on the left hand side. Sapari Apio, Sapari, the Motorstrelke BMP with the BTR 60s. little bit vulnerable to aircraft because there's not much AA there, but I was quite happy to just keep pushing that, and as long as he doesn't really keep line of sight on anything, he can't attack it. And I can see he's got a couple Mi-24s over here, so it's not too bad. Razvedka currently getting harassed by the SPW-70 there. The Spelliarpio on the meantime on the left going to be really doing a lot of damage to the Mudschützen with the help of the BMP-2. And yes, the shots are coming in from the BMP-1s, but BMP-1s suck when it comes to shooting infantry. Meanwhile, T-80 going to be engaging the BMP-1 across the open, hoping to just finish that off. Do manage to get the kill there. A BMP-2 does die on the left, and you can see that he tries to retreat his command. It actually bumped straight into the BMP-2 that I'd flanked around with earlier on. Really, really cheeky little kill there. So that's actually going to neutralize Echo and give me the +2. So I was already at a 400-point lead due to bringing in my commands earlier than he did. But now he's lost that left side sector, and I've got a decent amount of infantry here, but again, it is vulnerable to air attack. And this MiG playing with fire as it goes over the Osa and the Stralas. UAZ KBV going to be engaging the Aufprall here. I just want to try and take them out. Meanwhile, the Mudstrike and the BMP-2 is still pushing up on the right hand side. So what I was really happy about throughout this game was I was killing a lot of his recon units, but a lot of my recon units are still alive. Like, he keeps using these Aufprallers to push forwards and try and like see where my units are, but I'm able to clean them up quite easily. Like, personally, I feel like it's a little bit of a waste of the Aufpraller. I guess it depends how many you have, but I mean, they're not particularly cheap, right? It's 55 points for that squad. That's like more expensive than my Motorstrike Metis. UAZ going to be lucky there not to get hit by the Fargo, and the BMP-1P going to be having a go as well, but reversing into cover, all good. Mi-24V in the meantime going to be moving up to challenge the Mi-24s. I was a bit worried about moving forwards here because I don't know what AA he has. But I decided to commit, try and get the Igla on target, and also I can use the rockets on the Mudschützen if I feel like it. So one missile fires, two missile fire. I see the Schilke, gonna have to fall back. Third missile hits the mark, so did a little bit of damage, and I managed to kill the Mudschützen with the main gun. MiG-21 gonna come across, get shot down as well. MiG-21 also now coming in for the Mi-24. And since I'm flying away from him, he gets a lot of time on target, and that almost crashed it into my Sapelli Comlati. I was going to be really unhappy if it did. Yeah, I managed to shoot down a couple of aircraft anyway. Do lose my Mi-24 for the privilege, but I'm relatively happy with that trade, killing a couple more aircraft. The more aircraft I kill, the better, honestly. So BMP-2, actually a really good matchup against the Pioneers here, because the Pioneers can't do much to the BMP-2, but the tanks that have come in are kind of worrying for my infantry. I don't really have any like AT left, just like the Sapelli RPI. It's a bit of a problem. Bomber does come in there. Managed to shoot that down, the MiG-23 MF. I think it did kill one of my T-62s. Or the T-80 BV that I had here, maybe. But, yeah, I've got T-80 UD, so I'm not too worried about losing that, because it's just more or less instantly replaced, and I've got the supply to get the OSAs back online. BMP-2 finally goes down on the backside, and I'm contesting the left, so I am still maintaining the +2 due to the Sapelli Comlati. But Mi-24D is now coming over, but I have since reinforced with AA. So I've got the Strela 10M, got the OSA on the left-hand side, and that should cover off my infantry here. Strela missing at very close range, missing a second at close range. Mi-24 actually gets the stun onto my Strela. The OSA saves the day, but fails another 2 missiles onto the Mi-24D. I really need the last missile to hit. And the Strela, it's going to finish the job. Panzerjäger now being pushed across the open. Mi-24D on the left is dead. I see the Mi-24s coming for my T-62s, so going to be pushing forwards the OSAs here. OSAs are fantastic against Mi-24s because they have 7 HE. So whenever they hit, they do like 5 damage per hit, and so they can basically 2-shot the Mi-24. It's pretty big. So take out both of those. I do lose that unit on the left hand side there, but it's not too bad. Meanwhile, I'm still engaging these T-55s. And we're doing plenty of damage. We get the firing computer reset there, so plenty of time for my T-80UD to finish that off. Going to be spotting the Fargo in the open as well because of the Razvedka. On the left hand side, TO does go down. And then what I do is I load the Komroti into the UAZ and I make a runner. Managed to kill off the HGM squad just before it hits the T-62, so that was a little bit clutch there. But we're up to 773 points after challenging the left side. We got a really good lead here, and I've been trading pretty damn well so far. I've killed a lot of stuff, haven't lost much myself other than maybe the tank here, my Mi-24. But a lot of his stuff has died. My Sapari RPO though, they need to do a runner. Poor chaps have TO-55s on their heels. They got to get out of there. I'm also, of course, running away with the OSA and the Strela 10M, whilst I'm getting a couple of T-62s to come in and save the day. So again, T-62s, they match up very well against the TO-55s, so just using them to get free kills there pretty much. Pioneer with the flamethrowers trying to chase me down. I've only got one man left. Should probably try and fix those up. But another T-80UD going to be joining in the front. T-55 that was hiding in the smoke does finally get revealed as the smoke dissipates. This T-62 did take a shot, so we're going to be backing it up, getting it fixed up, while these two T-80UDs are going to be engaging the TO-55 and the BMP-1P. Going to have to smoke that off. HGM shot was going to hit me in the side, so pop the smoke, get back into cover. I've got a supply right here, so we'll get the supply right, or we'll get the smoke right back. No problemo. On the right hand side, Mostraki and the BMP-2 just holding position. Razvedka still giving me good information here. And we now have an aircraft coming in for my T-80UD. It's going to be an Su-22 M4K. He manages to hit the rockets that he needs. So I do lose a T-80UD, but it is gonna cost him an aircraft. Meanwhile, on the left, T-62 is going to be dealing with one of the T-55s here. Another Mostraki Metis getting it shot across, forcing the smoke. Modschützen in the open, going to get pinned and shut down. This T-55 is trying to retreat away from the Metis squad, gets shot in the side as it does so. And yeah, my Mi-8 here, you can see it's still going backwards and forwards on this backline. Now, after taking out a lot of this armor that he used to try and push across the open, I pushed my Razvedka forwards, and I managed to get the nice cheeky snipe there onto the SPW-70. But yeah, I'm just going to go for the push. I've got the T-62 that's going to go forwards. We're going to push aggressively with the T-80UD and the other T-62 on the right. Meanwhile, on the left, we've got another MiG coming in. And that's going to be getting the bombing strike onto my T-62s. Actually ends up killing both of them, which was quite lucky, and gets away from the OSA and the Strela, so really not happy about that. If I'd had the Sapari Komroti unloaded, maybe I could have got that kill due to the extra veterancy and therefore accuracy, but it's okay. On that left side, I can just bring in more reinforcements. Meanwhile, on the right, MrPresident's making a bit of a push. He's moving the Shilka forwards. He's got the T-55 here. Razvedka's going to get taken out. Conker's trying its best to cover. All I've got on the right now is the Mostraki BMP. The BMP-2 went down. So just the Strela and the OSA, which are going to have to get out of dodge shortly. T-55 does get killed off, or sorry, T-62 gets killed off by the T-55 on the left side here, which is a little bit worrying. Meanwhile, the rocket MiG coming in, taking some shots at the T-80, not really doing too much. But I'm really just trying to find this command, and I managed to get it, the BMP-1K going down. Meanwhile, the BMP-1 on the left getting a side shot onto my T-80UD. I am very overextended here, but I was relatively confident that there wasn't much because of my Razvedka squads that were moving forwards initially. So I know that's one unit here maybe. But other than that, pretty safe at the top side of this sector. So taking out his command does give me the advantage here. And yeah, I just got to basically do a runner with all of my units. So my supplies, my command doing a runner, my supply, yep, that's moving over to the left side. I'm just shifting everything to the left whilst I'm bringing reinforcements to the right. So a couple T-80 BVs on their way. MrPresident though, going to be bringing up a couple Panzerjäger squads. Those are pretty scary for my T-80UD. If they get side shots, T-80UD is going to go down very quickly. I mean, even in the front armor, they'll chip 1 health at a time and they fire pretty quickly. So yeah, got to be careful because there's 2 rockets or 2 rocket launchers on that squad, so they can get the DPS down. So just backing that all the way up. I was really expecting at any point like another aircraft to come in and try and engage the T-80, but yeah, the T-80 manages to get out of there, so that was really good. And I'm going to have the Euro from the right hand side come over and fix that up immediately. So the 120mm mortar here going to get counter batteried again by the Akatsaya. I could have probably used these Akatsaya a little bit more efficiently to like engage some of the stuff in this far tree line before I attacked it before, but I think I was just so focused on using and microing the T-80s just in case like enemy aircraft and stuff came in. I managed to clean up the tanks here. One of my T-80BV there did take a bit of damage. We're just going to be pushing them through because I do know that I have the Motostraki PMP here. And the 120 is going to finally go down. Meanwhile on the left, new BTRs arriving with Superior out. Going to be making a new play for the left side. Got the Osas, got the Strala, got the T-62s. So got everything I need basically to push forwards here. My T-80U is actually in a really forward position on this left side. Kind of risky considering it's using these Panzerjäger, but I'm relatively happy with that. And the BTR-60 going to be YOLOing forwards on the left-hand side to try and find the enemy command, actually end up capturing an enemy transport. Meanwhile, Mi-24D going to be the choice for trying to engage my tanks. I do shoot that down, and Mr. President's going to call the game because it was getting pretty out of hand. 5,020 kills to 1,995 losses. Just a solid game with great trades. His 7th Panzer Division didn't really have much of a solution for the big armor, and I was getting decent kills on Mi-24s. Like, personally, I feel like he should have had more clusters going into this, because I'm pretty sure you can get like Su-22 clusters, you get the Su-22 AT planes, so making use of more of those rather than the like MiGs with rockets would have been much better in my opinion. And then he would have been able to like just trade the planes for the tanks and stop my pushes that way, which is what I expected, which is why I brought so much like AA, so that it would be traded. And technically the air trades, if he trades like a cluster for a T-80UD, like that's in his favor. Like, and it only gets really bad for me if I don't shoot down that plane, which is why having so many of those Osas on the field is very important, making sure any time a plane comes in, it dies. So for example, on the left-hand side, the MiG-23 coming in and getting those 2 bombs off, or getting the bombs off and killing the 2 T-62s and not getting shot down, that is really bad for me. Like, so I need to make sure that I have the overwhelming AA to just shut down the airplay. The overall, really solid game. The T-80UDs really just playing up in the middle there. He can't really match them on the ground, other than maybe dotting around a lot of HGMs and looking for side shots and this kind of stuff. The only other way that he can really play this is by building up like a large amount of T-62s or T-72s and T-55s and pushing through the flanks, like using the heavy cover to advance close range to my heavy tanks. And then the T-72s can get really good value because they cost a lot less, but they still have decent firepower, so they can get through that front armor at closer ranges. It can actually be really scary to deal with, particularly when you're invested in heavy, expensive tanks. Yeah, I managed to get in all I needed, which was basically just a wall of tanks, a wall of AA, and then the infantry that could scout ahead. And that was pretty much it. Yeah, just a tough matchup for Mr. President, I think. Just mainly come down to the divisions in the end of the day. But this is going to put me 1-0 up in the best of 3, the quarterfinal of the WARNO League Season 0. So, looking good. We're 7-0. See if we can carry on the trend in the next one, or will Mr. President come back and give me a hard time? We'll have to wait and see. That's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.